Quincy Mountain got a fake name. Being queer is the result of having a big rear, not doing good at dating games. He went back to school, New York Times, say 40. Blair Bradman must have been a fucking fool too. There's everything about Quincy's a lie. Took it to his cabin and rolled in the woods. People gone missing around there and folk in the hood wishing they had the answers. Quincy was busy writing on a blog about BDSM porn. Instead of being a romancer, he didn't dorm with the other students in Iowa. He seen Blair and thought she was the vulnerable type he wanted to acquire. Instead of being honorable, write his own book. He knew she needed a home, so he took her to his place. He had a fantasy worked out in his mind. Fucking he would be that boy and she would be buying to the ploy. Go there with them. She wanted to get away from the kissing. He wouldn't let her. She was with him forever. He needed her to batter. She needed a roof and he had a fancy place. He would touch her first and tell her about how he was a trans, really not a man. She was already be exploited and damned, defrauded into intimacy. And by God, Quincy she, because allegedly this queer with the big rear was a lady, a fake beard, and all would be hedging the bet. Blair Babman would let Quincy tickle the cooch, and in return, Blair Babman and her ugly sled dogs could have a roof over their head and a big fancy laptop and a fancy bed. And they bought a lot of block Twitter followers, and inside every day Blair got hollerer because she was just there for the money. Quincy was out busy during the day tending his bees. He kept for the honey. He had money from the National Guard because they let him go because inside he was a lady hoe, even though he dressed different. Wrote on a blog about killing the Buddha, rant after rant through the alt-queer channels in the net. He blew the same anti-religion stance. Fucking he didn't like God or romance and was just getting to the beginning because on the blog Quincy talked about horses, not dogs, and he lied about that too. Seems like this motherfucker might be a horse thief or was true with some other shit too because everything about Quincy is a lie, including what's between his thighs. And don't worry, don't cry. This ain't really the issue. And this ain't about wiping away a queer's cum. They probably come from out of that queer big bum with a tissue. It's because Blair ran a Iditarod, the great big race. She went to Alaska. Her goal was to have her ugly face in the newspaper, even though she was last place. And you labeled her hater if you speak out about how she cheat. Truth is, she was shut down at Old Woman cabin between Caltech and Unalakleet. Tripod first, laughing, sometimes also feeling cursed. She had called the race off. Quincy on a snow globe came flying up the trail, all soft, fed her dogs for her, bought her some hot food. This was against the rules. At that point, they thought it was over the race, even though it was getting finished, was getting closer. But Blair, she cheered up all winter long. She trained her dogs funny, just like how she fucks, kind of like a dummy. Ain't fit the right shit where it's supposed to go. We talking dicks on guys and cunts on hoes. She trained on the genetic hybrid with the wind blows. She went to the fancy lodge, then she used a snow machine to train her dogs, and she said it was for safety. The dogs learned to ride in the trailer, and later in the race, she used it to training to pace, and she unveiled her secret weapon, Quincy in a snow globe. She was shut down there in the trail and getting to where she felt like she would quit. Quincy showed up with a big box of Querios and a whip, aka snow globe. That's against the rules. Provided outside assistance. The trail judge themselves confirmed it. They said they were tools. They cheated. He said, your comment spot on. I came into the cabin and Quincy and Blair was alone on the green grassy lawn with the dogs and the snow machine. Quincy fed the dogs and they followed that rig to the next cabin. Quincy saw her again. They were together partying and laughing. Pups loved that fresh trail that was groomed, and they barked when they seen Quincy and the machine because it meant to them a hot meal, fancy room, and a big log, just how Blair did it all winter. Queer instead of growing up strong and fucking meeting a challenge like Simba the lion. Blair ain't a lion and Quincy ain't a man, so it's pretty hard for a couple queer kids from Wisconsin land to face the firing squads of the Alaska papers and everyone who speaks up through the rule violations. It's called the haters. While Blair, after the race, was laying up with Ramey Reddington himself, and he pays himself hand in mouth money from sled dog rides at Iditarod headquarters. Blair put a strap on dick on fuck Mark Norman in the hindquarters and Stan Hooley maybe too, because that queer shit really grew on her after she hooked up with Quincy. She's all about the papers, the press, not about the dogs. And the next year, they did it like Cindy Abbott. She dumped her own dog. She said she had it with the Mutts going to run a Reddington team because that they could try to show off their big Wisconsin butts in the standings, not just on the cheater sheet. But during the race, Quincy beat a Reddington dog. By God, someone saw it and spoke up and said that's a dog, not a toy. And then Quincy hung in the back of the pack, and sure enough, he was too fat, so he scratched. And Blair and him, they drove back to Wisconsin after dumping the Reddington dogs back on them. And then they fucking gathered up their own pooches in the middle of a pandemic. They drove across two countries, and at the custom border, they said they already planned it, so they had to keep going, even though it was snowing and everything was shut down. They plowed ahead like a couple queer clowns, and they got right back on Twitter trying to kick everyone else off who didn't have as big a shitter or who ain't a liar or a cheater. That's Quincy Mountain on the retreat, or went to Iditarod and did an incomplete, or took the fucking defeat, or then dumped the dogs he raced with just in it for the papers. And Blair checking their donation page for pay, more than a kiss with Quincy. They both so ugly in the soul, but also outside, just like where she write online, because they fucking let her write in the mag, because the people at the magazine are all fags.